Our first presenter is Joe Cortruvo of Bio-Based Extraction of Rare Earth Elements. Joe, you may begin.
Okay. All right. So I'm Joey Cortruvo. I'm an assistant professor of chemistry at Penn State and inventor of a bio-inspired method to extract rare earth elements. Rare earths are a group of metals that have irreplaceable functions in technologies like cell phones, electric cars, fighter jets, and much more. The demand for rare earth components of these products increases every year, as you can see down here. But the US currently relies on China for most of its rare earths. And as a result, the Department of Energy has labeled rare earths as critical materials to US technology and national security. Sorry, let me hide the thumbnail here. Okay, so the problem is not so much that we don't have domestic resources of rare earths. We actually have vast resources, but they tend to be of relatively low grade. So current technologies that to harvest these metals, these toxic chemicals, and they don't work well on low concentration sources. And as a result, we throw away billions of dollars worth of rare earths every year. Our solution to this problem is a natural protein that we discovered that has evolved over millennia to bind rare earths and only rare earths very tightly. Its combination of selectivity and affinity for rare earths is unmatched by traditional methods. It's robust and it's reusable, and it therefore would be it's able to make otherwise inaccessible low-grade sources of rare earths accessible. Our technology can be implemented in a number of ways, but one example is shown here. So acid mine drainage, or AMD, is produced both by operating mines and abandoned mines, and it's a big problem in Pennsylvania and in Appalachia. This drainage contains many different metals, including rare earths, and as a result, it has to be treated before water ends up in streams and rivers. And so what we conceive is that an immobilized form of our protein, such as on a column, can be integrated into an existing AMD treatment facility to recover the rare earths with high purity in a single step for further processing. We have 2 patents that are pending on our technology, and we're currently working with a mining company on further process optimization and development, as well as economics. My student and I discovered this protein, and we're the experts on how it works. And we've teamed up with researchers at Lawrence Livermore National Lab who are experts in development of biotechnologies for metal extraction. We have funding from the DOE, from Penn State, and we've participated in the I-Core Site program, which has helped us to begin to learn from the market about how we can meet our needs. And we're continuing those efforts to further refine our technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We will now start the Q&A session, beginning with Alana. Alana?
Hi. Hi, Joey.
Hi.
That was a really interesting presentation.
Thank you.
You mentioned $5 billion of discarded rare earth materials, and I'm wondering how your process affects the cost to deliver the end product, if you know that, and also I'm trying to get a sense of overall how much this could affect the market. 5 billion, you know, what percent is that? What percent can you add to the total market of what we need? So do we need 100 billion or do we need 10 billion and you're providing half of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's hard to answer that question. I can say that you know, what the estimate is that there's millions of kilograms of rare earths that are produced in acid mine drainage in just Pennsylvania and West Virginia alone every year. And so that's about 1% of the total world market of rare earths. So these sources are somewhat localized to mines, but each mine would, you would have to implement this at each location in particular. If that, I know there are not dollar amounts in that answer, but.
Well, that's still, I think 1%, that's a significant amount of the world's, the world's supply. And how does your process affect the cost to extract it? Do you have any idea about that? So the end product cost, how will using your process versus mining it in China, let's say?
Right. So that's going to depend on, so we're still in the process of optimizing the economics of our process, right? We've been operating at laboratory scale. We would need to scale up to, and obviously the costs don't work at laboratory scale. But if you're able to produce the protein in a fermentation facility, do everything at scale, then I think we can begin to be competitive based on the costs that I've looked up for, protein production and conjugation. I think we can begin to be competitive with those locations. And one thing that I want to add is that acid mine drainage is relatively enriched in the heavier rare earths, which are much more valuable than the lighter rare earths. So the costs of those depends on the specific element, but it's like $100 to $1,000 per kilogram. And so if those are the prices, then given how much protein production costs, I've seen numbers like $60, $70 per kilogram, but we can reuse the protein many times. And I think at the end, what it comes down to is how many times will we be able to reuse the protein.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe I'm next. Joe, congratulations. Very interesting idea, solving a very important problem. A few quick questions. One is, who is the ultimate customer for your technology?
Yeah, I think probably who we would be selling to would be, or who would be working with would be the companies that are involved in management of the wastes from these mines. So from what we found so far, it seems that the mines will partner with particular companies that manage these treatment facilities. And so I think it would probably, what we probably would end up doing is partnering with those companies rather than with the mines themselves, although we're still learning more about the market.
And in terms of from a business model perspective, do you envision just sort of selling the hardware, once and done, or do you envision somehow sharing in the, the value created by selling the rare earth metals? What are your thoughts on business model?
Yeah, so to be honest, it's the rare earths area is somewhat of a mafia. And it's been a little bit difficult to learn about all of these details. But what I envision at this point is that we would be selling a product to the companies that would be managing these wastes. I'm not exactly certain how the money or the value that's produced from the rare earths, how that would be distributed among those various partners. But that's the best that I can answer at this moment.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Alice.
Thanks, Joey. So you mentioned a couple times that the proteins were reusable. Can you just talk a little bit more about the tech behind that? Like, do you have to re-purify them after you use them, or how does that process work?
So even though the protein binds rare earths very tightly. It's also very easy to remove the rare earths, to desorb them. So you just would have to do a desorption step, and then you would be able to load the protein again with rare earths. And so we've tested in the lab, we've tested, we've run samples through the same protein many times and have not seen disintegration of the protein. So the expectation is that we'll be able to use this, dozens and dozens of times in the field.
Okay, and quickly, how much more R&D do you think you'll need to do before you're ready to deploy this product?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that one of the biggest questions we need to resolve is the matter of scaling up production of the protein. We've done a lot of investigation into the actual performance, and those studies have gone very well. I think the major issue is the fermentation of the protein, which there are methods to do this. We just need to implement them with our protein.
Thanks.
Thank you. And we are now at time. Thank you, judges, for your questions, and thank you, Joe, for your presentation. Very nicely done.
Great.